Um, Hello all. So this is week 12. Just to give a brief, I'm Jagriti Patil. I'm doing my PhD at IIT Gandhinagar. I'm in my second year in Department of Biological Sciences and Engineering. I work with Professor Kala Mercado Shekhar in the Medical Engineering Ultrasound Lab. So I work on tissue characterization for as like how do we differentiate between types of tissues, basically using quantitative ultrasound. That is, we can differentiate in between the sizes of the scatters or the structure, see how the distribution is, what's the concentration. So all these parameters I aim to work at different physical models or say some statistical models, and from there I differentiate that okay, which kind of tissue is normal or which kind of tissue is abnormal. So that is how my research is. So today is the last week, that's week 12, and tomorrow we'll be having an extra session. So these two sessions will be for you for the help that you'll be able to solve few more examples. I have used some of the examples that were asked previous to previous years, and some of the ones that we have already seen. So just to give a brief, and then some assignments. So today mostly I'll be discussing only question and answer, so not mostly everything. It's like no theory at all. So if you all want me to do some theory or something, please to post and just say that what all topics you want to, so that I can address those in tomorrow's class, or else we'll do and solve some sums as well as the theory on that, so you'll be able to know what we do and how we do that. Okay, so we'll start. I'll share my screen and we'll do. mm, 2 seconds, eh? Sorry for the disturbance. There are people playing badminton there, so can't help it. I live in hostel. Okay. Um, we are set. Let me just make a connection and we'll do. Okay. So the connection's done. Okay, I'll share my screen. Let me also open the presentation. Okay, so I hope my entire screen is visible. And just to get a check, if it's not, I'll open my second device and see if it's visible there. Just give me 2 seconds. Perfect. Now I'm able to see that what I'm sharing there. Okay. So I'll share my screen. Okay, my screen is already shared. I'll first we'll do some coding, and then later we'll go towards some numericals. Okay. Okay. I hope my sorry here. So I hope this is visible. For each of the numerical, I'll give you say 10 minutes or 5 minutes of worth waiting time so that you can it's like think through and then see that what all solution is possible. And then later what we'll do is it's like I'll go through the solution and I'll tell you that how to implement it and what's the solution of it, how the waveform looks like. Okay. So here it's written, the signal Y is defined as by the following MATLAB code. The sampling is given, the time is given. So 0 to 1 by fs times 1. Two signals are given to us. One is S1 and another is to S2. So can you tell me what's the difference in between S1 and S2? So that's nothing but this. So the frequency over here is different. So one is being driven with one, say hertz or megahertz. The other one is being driven by 10. Okay. Next thing we have is that we add both of the signals. So what we do, and then after adding, they're saying that find the envelogram of the signal. So what is an envelogram? Envelogram is nothing but you take the envelope of your signal. That is, if you say you have a, we had discussed this before, but just to give a context, that whenever we have a RF signal that's fluctuating very nicely, not fluctuating, but that's giving you some information, and but you don't want that phase information. What you want is just how the magnitude of the curve is varying and what is it's like nature of your signal. Then what you essentially do is you directly take the envelope of it. So you might have learned in communication the carrier wave and the modulated wave. So in order to send the carrier waves from one side to another side, we modulate them. So we have something as MC and then we have something as MT. So essentially this waves, and then in the end we demodulate them. So we get the carrier wave back. So similarly, this is something like that. So then they are saying that how many prominent peaks are present in the envelogram of the signal Y. So the options are 150 and 101. So here the code is again given. Oh, I guess I copied it twice. Okay. Okay. So you guys can say possibly take 2 minutes. So it's 8:12 now. I'll be say 8:14. I'll start with the solution. So just get a hint that I also told you that there are some transforms and inbuilt function through which we can directly compute it, or you can do it by the usual way that we have done, and that's also there in the tutorial slides. So I'll share the solution at 8:14. Okay. Okay, time's up. So what do we do? Okay, so these three steps are nothing but very essential whenever you start doing your coding, is that you clear your work command window, clear your workspace, and then close all the windows that you have. Okay, after that, mention same thing that you had in your question, that is the sampling frequency, the time, the signal 1, signal 2, and the addition of both of them, that is y. So directly copy paste both of them. Next, we saw last time that what whenever we do something, we take the length of the signal because we want to know how many points are there, what till how the signal is lasting. Okay, after that we need to know that how many points are there, so that we'll get to know from L. So that's basically 2 raised to n. So we do something like that. Next is like we find the length of the signal that will be there when we take the FFT of the signal. So how do we do that? So here it is length is a length of this FFT by 2 plus 2 sorry, FFT by 2 plus 2 is 2 FFT n FFT. So did you get a hint that why did we do so? Because everything is in positive side and now it's like 2 and 4, so that's 2 times. Then we have the FFT. So FFT we normally take with respect to the number of points that we have, and then essentially dividing the FFT by the number of points in order to normalize it. We're going well, nice. Then what do we do? So we take a vector, or we create a vector, say of this AA, that's our FFT. The first value we take it's like varying between this particular time. So this is something that's available, and what do you do is that since it's you're only taking the frequency values from 0 to next, so you want to append all the negative frequencies to this point. So that's it why you divide it by 2 and then 2 plus 1, and then times 2 times of zeros of this. So here you are initializing a vector, then make a vector. So here this vector you take an inverse IFF, inverse Fourier transform of it, and then is nothing but plotted. So what was initially that was asked to us is that find the envelogram of the signal and how many number of peaks are there in the signal. Okay, so let's try to run it here. So here we see that our signal is okay, wait. Yes, so here we see that our signal has this prominent peaks in here, and then this is the envelogram of it. So count the number of peaks that you have over here, that is here. So can you count? Is like is it just this 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9? No, right? These are not the peaks. Now we want to find it in the entire spectrum. So for that, what did we do is here they said it's 101. Probably it's twice of that since our length of points are that much. So either it's 101, the what do you say, the number of prominent peaks, or it would be 1001 mostly. Okay. Okay, we'll go to the next question then. It's not coming. What happened? Okay, went back. Okay, then the next question is find the form factor for the signal y given by the following MATLAB code. So what is a form factor? Form factor is essentially, we saw that it was a ratio of the two variances that we had with respect to its own derivatives. So be it first derivative of the signal, second derivative of the signal, like that. So same that here they have given us a signal timestamp. A1 and A2 are the two signals. Now you do something and then add both of them together. So 0.8 times A1 and 0.2 times A2. So here are the options given to you. So have a it's like take a minute to think that what will we do in this case. So 220 will be finishing soon. So I just want that it's like you also think something before I directly tell you the answer. Okay. Till the time it goes, I'll just connect my PC to power. Okay, your time's up. So what do you do to find the form factor? Simply add the formula in it. So the formula that we saw is the same formula now that you have to apply. So this is how you give the entire signal and then say that sig is y. So it's always nice that if you store your original signal somewhere and then later do some changes in the one. So you're, it's always good to have a duplicacy of your signal and not just it's like changing the vector where your actual value was, and don't always overwrite it. So sometimes it might not be that cautious, or a problem won't come in a solutions like this, but whenever you have some loops and everything's going by, so the value gets overwritten again and again. So has happened to me many times. I do the same things. But yeah, it's always good to initialize some values at first, give the vectors of the size of the vectors that you are expecting, or just initialize them as an in empty arrays or something, and then do the rest procedure. It's always nice and a good way to code as well as to maintain your coding efficiency. Okay, so what do? We take a first difference of it, then we take a variance of it, then we take the variance of the first derivative, and we take the variance of the second derivative. So how do you know it's a second derivative? That is essentially we have differentiated the first derivative twice. Okay, so then we take the square root of then ratio of these two derivatives, and then we take the square root of the ratio of these two variance second derivative by the second derivative, and then first by first derivative, and then we essentially find that this form factor is nothing but the ratio of the second derivative is like the ratio of these two variances. Okay, so what do we get from that? Okay, we run it. So it is nothing but 3.557. So the answer here is B. So okay, we are going on well. Okay, next question is, so I hope this was fine with you. If not, please let me know and I'll go back to the question again and we can discuss it again. Okay. So what's the mean frequency of the PSD of the signal Y that is generated using the following MATLAB code? Okay, so we have the sampling frequency here, the time is given, those two signals are given, addition of this signal is this. So this is what is added over here is what's the mean frequency of the PSD of this signal that's generated. So what you have to do is that you have to find the PSD. How do you find PSD? Is that you find the Fourier transform, square it, and then find the mean of frequency. So just build up in your mind what will you do and how will you do, or make a flow chart of the same, and then I can show you the code. So 2 minutes again. Okay. So the question 3, have you guys thought about it? Okay. So here, same thing we do. Now here, sampling frequency, make the time axis, write S1, S2, give the signal as an addition of both of them, find the length of your signal, take its FFT, absolute it, take the square of it, sum it entirely, and then you need to find the frequency of this particular spectra, right? So take the sampling frequency. So here, how it's like in the frequency domain, how your signal was sampled is fs times 0 to the length of the 0 times this is your step size, that is 1 by length of y, and then plus 1 minus 1 by length of y. So it's like from here to their side, but since it started from 0, it's 1 minus 1 by length of y. Okay, Cool. Then we find the mean frequency. So how do we find the mean frequency? Since it's, what do you say, we took the PSD of the signal and it's always from 0 to all sides. So what you need to do is like take twice of that of what we had in the first term. Okay. So here you have your energy of the signal in frequency domain, right? Because it's essentially the energy that you computed after converting your waveform to Fourier transform. It's like into frequency domain. So you do 2 by E1. E1 is essentially your energy times sum of the frequency range from 1 to half length times the YPSD, that is 1 to half length. So can any one of you say that why did we do this f1 of 1 to half of length and then PSD of 1 to half of length? What was the difference in between both of them? So the trick in here is nothing but you need to compute the mean of this. If this PSD signal, if it had been some different signal, you just change this particular variable from here. It's essentially everything the same, always the same. So it's nothing but you, it's like take half or take twice of the signal that you have, inverse of the energy, because since it's in frequency domain, and then you sum it all from the way of the frequency of the spectra. Sorry, the frequency axis of your PSD or the quantity that you want to compute, and then that values. And then when you do it, so you have some x and then you multiply by y. So essentially what you get is the mean frequency over there. Okay. So this logic is somehow very tricky to remember or to quantify, but then if you do it again and again, you'll be able to do that. So here the answer is 5.49. So our answer is C. So that works well. Okay. So were there any doubts? So the main trick in here was nothing but to compute this F1, and the next thing was to compute this mean frequency. F1 is quite easy. Then how do you compute the mean frequency? Is that the same way? So you do the summation till half of the frequency and give the y values to it so that it modulates, and then you have the mean frequency of your signal. So it's essentially more of like area under the curve where you multiply some x by y and then you have a constant in front of it. Okay. So next question. Next question is, what is the variance, that is second central moment of PSD of the signal generated using the following code? Okay. So have a look. So variance we just did now. So that was the second central moment. How do we compute it? So we add the signal and then give something. So think about it. We'll do at 29. Okay, so 29. So here's the solution of the same. So we have the signal, add them, take the length of the signal, then take the FFT of it, take the PSD of it. Why did we do PSD over here? Because it's nothing but PSD of the signal of Y. So we need to find the PSD of the the second order moment of the PSD of your signal, right? So then you give the mean frequency and then you find for the variance frequency. only the formulas would change. So what is mean essentially? Mean is nothing but sum of all divided by the total energy. Now what is variance? So variance is x minus mu ka whole square divided by the average energy, right? So this is nothing but 2 times divided by the average energy. This is your x, that is the total sum of x minus this mu, that's your mean frequency whole square, times the y values that you have in here. That's it. So it's essentially adding the formulas in. So that for this mean frequency, I told you that what was the it's like logic behind it. But then if you want to remember it in terms of the formulas that we already know, it's a easier way too. So you know that what average is, what variance is, just add it in there. But don't forget that you have a y parameter also, so multiply it as well. Okay. So next question. Oh, sorry, we didn't run it, right? We'll run it. So here it gave us 20.365. So here a D option is correct option. Okay. Then question 5. What is an 8-point FFT of the signal this? So here's the detailed solution. So we need to find the 8-point FFT of the particular signal that's given to us. So that particular signal is given, just take an FFT of X. So this is something that you get in something in between, you have a 8. So just match the options and then you're good to go. So something like this might also come, but this type of questions in the exam hall might say terrify you, or say might confuse you, because now you would think that, okay, why is this so easy question being asked? Because it's not always the thing about hard or tricky. It's always thing about that your concept should be strong and you know about the things that the course is following and it is built upon. So you just need to know that how things are going on, as well as what concepts are there, what's the inherent story behind that particular thing. So that those all things, if you know, would suffice, and then you'll be able to perform very nicely in your exam. Okay. So we have next question, that is find the PSD of the signal using the following MATLAB code. So here from this particular following, we need to find the PBSD of this Y signal. Then they had said that what is the value of PSD in dB per hertz. So what do you mean by dB per hertz? That you need to convert it into log scale. Okay, so how do you do that? Say 20 log 10 or 10 log 10, depending upon whether it's a voltage value or it's a power point. Okay, at the frequency at 0 hertz, and then find the PSD by taking the FFT of the signal, then squaring the magnitude response of its FFT. So they essentially gave us everything. So now you think that how will you, so now you know, here you know the PSD of the signal, right? Now initially also you computed how the PSD was to be. Next you need to know that what is the value of the PSD in decibel per hertz at the frequency of 0 hertz. So at frequency of 0 hertz, you need to know what's the exact value. You can just take your cursor and place it there and see the value. Okay, it's only single value. If not, you can always do G input and then characterize it. But for a single value, it doesn't make sense to do G input. And then something there is nothing but compute the value in decibel per hertz. Okay. So you have say 2 minutes more to think on this. Okay, sorry to take long. So how do we do that? So you got an idea? So same thing that was given to us. If you notice, we have two different signals. So it's always nice if you take one signal, see after plotting it how it looks like. So this is some exercise for you to see how different kind of signals look like. Take the FFT of it, find the length of it, and then essentially take, it's like make your y-axis of the PSD, find the frequency axis of it, and then plot it, and then check the value at 0 hertz. So that is how we do it. So let's see and plot it, and then we'll check the value at 0 hertz. Oh my goodness, what is this? So why is this like that? Just because something that you added was symmetric both heights. So that is why you got something like this. Now, what's the value of B at 0? So how do you know? So this x right here that's coming, this different value should be 0. So at 0, it's something at negative 34.4413. So you know that always taking something at 0 hertz is always not that favorable. And say, so currently I've been doing some experiments that need the frequency response of the transducer to be characterized. So for the same, what we do is that when we plot the signals, we see that transducers which are higher frequency won't essentially have the lower frequency band as the essential signal. It can also carry the noise, but that also depends upon the pulsar through which you are sending your transmit signal through. So it's not always necessary that 0 hertz might be something that you have, but it's always good if you work it within the negative 6 dB bandwidth of your spectra. So whatever reference band you get is like take the negative 6 dB of it and then process everything within that particular part. So just kind advice. Okay. So next question is the PSD of the cosine signal is given by is given by this, where time is this is what. So note 1, find the PSD by taking like this. So we already know now by now. And then note 2 is that sampling and the number of points for FFT have been given. So till now you all might have been known. So we'll directly go to the solution. So what we do is like, we have the signal with us, then we know the number of points, so take the FFT with of the signal with respect to the number of points. Now why do we did FFT shift? Because it will be made symmetric along the axis. Then do the FFT of it, PSD of it, find the center frequency. Now did you notice a difference in between this frequency range as well as this frequency range right here? So the difference in here is that this guy, it started from 0 to the length of the signal that you had. However, here it started from negative n by 2 to positive n by 2. Oh, why it's going down there? Huh. So negative n by 2 to positive n by 2. So why is this case over here? This is because you did this FFT shift. So that made your signal split it into 0 axis, and then it's symmetric here and there. So if you see your signal, it would appear something like this. Here, so you see it's splitted around 0. So you see that how many. So now what's asked to us? I forgot the question. PM. So we have been asked the PSD of the cosine signal where t is equals to 0 to 1. So then they're saying has peaks at this has peaks at, okay. So 0 to, this is not a time axis, but it has peaks at what all frequencies, let's say, okay. So now we have a peak at this, we have a, sorry, my bad. So whenever you try to move something in MATLAB plots, what is essentially needed is that you select this data type and then only you'll be move your data type. So it varies. What's the next peak that you have? The next peak is something at 20. Do we also have at negative 20? Yeah, we do have. This peak was right here is something at negative 20, right? What are all these? These are not peaks. These are just the waveform that's getting to you. So the number of peaks that you have are nothing but at 0 hertz, 20 hertz, and negative 20 hertz. So this was all about the session. This was all about something coding. From next session onwards, we won't have any coding session. If you want, you can let me know. Tomorrow's is the last session. So now we'll do some Q&A. That's some questions that I have gotten from the people from the institute, and then that's done. Okay, so I'll just save it so that I can share this file with you all. I'll just share it here. This is, say, weekly session. So it's a good practice to always save your files with a date so that you know that which date you did some what thing. So it's a good practice. My guide told me so, so I also follow. Or if you know, I forgot to tell you, how do you also compute the envelogram of the signal? So you guys can try this. I'll write over here. Try Hilbert transform to get the envelope of the signal. Okay. So this is how we also compute the envelope of the signal, right? So that was all about this. And then what next we have is the week 12. So oops, and it was nice to be with you all till this point and how we did all the assignments, solutions, theory lectures, week boring lectures, so all those things. And then we are the final towards the end, and I hope that all of your guys exams go well. I hope we'll be able to meet tomorrow also if many of you show up, or I'll be also recording the lecture, so don't worry. If you don't have any time, you can just play the play the video, like say 2x times faster, or the fastest speed that you have gotten, say 2 or 2.5, and then play it along, see the Q&A, and then it should be fine and you all will do well. So I hope that. Okay. So the first question was find the value. So I've added some questions randomly from here and there just to test that whether you all are, it's like, on the right track, and you'll be able to switch your gears from this point to another point and you're not being surprised at all. So this would give you some practice, because in exams this always happens, and one person feels that, okay, I was in this question, how come this question came, what was for that, okay, I need to remember. So those kind of things shouldn't come. Okay, it happens to me, but I'm trying that it shouldn't happen for you. Okay. So find the value of this impulse function that's convolved with this data signal, where this d of n is your data function. Okay. So what will happen over here? So that's a basic property of delta function, or whenever two signals are convolved. What happens? Addition, subtraction, what? Same usual, we'll do 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay. So not more questions, but if you feel so that, okay, it's too much, then we'll just cut it off and then we'll do tomorrow. Okay. Okay, I guess it's more than 2 minutes now. Here, so the answer is B. So that's convolution with delta function will essentially give you the shifted version of the same signal. So what you do is that n plus a, n plus b, so that's nothing but n plus a plus b. So what's the answer over here? That is 2. So what you do, h of n, and then you do a bracket, and then 4 minus 2, and then that is h plus 2, n plus 2. Okay. Next question. So if the signal x of n is this, then find y of n, that is a given signal like this. Note that the underlying value in the input and output represents the signal at n equals to 0. Okay, so 2 minutes sharp. Just get a brief that what did we do over here. So flip the signal and twice it and then add something to it. So it's essentially very easy. So here you don't need to do some say advance or delay kind of factors, or what you essentially probably it's advanced, and then you also need to flip it. Sorry, sorry. So try it. Take your pen and notebooks and try it. So 48, I'll be sharing the solution. Or else one can also do this by, say, take 2 common, and then it would be something, take negative common, then it would be 2n minus 1, or something like take 2 and negative 2 common, it would be like half would become there. So handling half is more of a tricky compared to handle 1. So something like that. Okay, we'll see the solution. So you have your correct detailed solution like this. So this is your final the value of x of n given. So signal advanced by one sample is given by something like this, but this is your zeroth position, and then when it is decimation by a factor of 2, that is when it is multiplied by a factor of 2, it essentially becomes something like that. And then also, okay, so do you all remember whenever you multiply a signal and take half of the signal, what happens to the signal when it compresses and when it expands? Sorry, yeah, when it compresses and when it expands. Think about it and then do something. It's like see on hands what happens, and then when you do time reversal, something that you get is something like that. Okay, so essentially flipping everything from positive axis to negative axis, only your zero value will remain the same. Okay, that's next. PSD of voiced and unvoiced segments of speech signal is obtained. Which of the following statement is true? PSD segments of voice signals, the prominent peaks are observed, or for unvoiced, they are observed, or for voice signal, no prominents are observed, or they are observed for both PSD segments of this and this. Okay. So this voiced and unvoiced segments, I hope you remember that we did something that what was a voice signal, from where it comes, and what happens if we take the Fourier transform and PSD of it. So all those things coming back. Thought about it? So the answer is A. So that is the PSD of voice segments, the prominent peaks are observed in there, whereas for unvoiced you don't get anything. So if it had been an option that for unvoiced segments it has not observed, both options would have been correct. Okay. So which of the following statement is true for, oh, did it come twice? Oh no, it's a different one. For voiced and unvoiced signals. So whether the zero crossing rate of the voice signal is more than that of the unvoiced signal, or the PSD of unvoiced signal has some peaks, RMS value of the voice signal is more than the unvoiced signal, and no prominent peaks are present in the PSD of the voice signal. So by looking at some options, you directly feel that okay, eliminate this, and some option that you feel that okay, something like this might occur, might be there. So then you do inky pinky ponky in between those two options. So think about it. Okay. So the answer for this is D. That is the RMS value of the voice signal is more than that of the unvoiced signal. Okay. Then let's do some biology over here since it's biomedical signal processing. So interstitial fluid refers to the fluid surrounding the what? The nucleus, cells, blood, or none of this. Take a minute. Don't Google because it's your exam. So just give the answer in terms of your instinct that you know. So whether it's cells or blood or nucleus, interstitial fluid is where present. So okay, so now you need to know what the basic cell biology, a basic cell, the cell membrane, plasma membrane. Just go into that back slides or back information, what happened and where it occurs, all these things. Okay, so it is B, that is in the cells. Okay. Next, the longest bone in the human body is found where? And you can also name it. Okay. So the longest bone is found in your leg, and that bone is termed as femur. That is nothing but your thigh bone. Okay. Next, the waveform that can be seen in electroencephalogram when a person is in deep sleep is what? Which one? So we saw a range of the EEG signal spectra. So when we had alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and then the frequency ranges associated with each of those. So now here we want to see that which range is associated with a person when he or she is in deep sleep. Any hints? So it's nothing but your delta wave. Okay, so in delta wave, when a person is in deep sleep, that particular waveform is observed. Okay, then electroneurogram is the process of recording the electrical activity of what? So heart, you all know it's ECG. Brain, can think. Lung, no. And then nerves, I don't know. So which one? Oh yeah, I won't give a minute for this one, but let's give so that you guys can ponder. And this is something that during this time you might be able to remember the values when it some if something like this comes up in exam. Okay, we turn as it clocks 55. Oh, I didn't know a minute was that long. Okay, it's 55. So the correct answer is that of nerves. Okay. Then what is the normalized correlation value of the signal x is equals to 4826? So for this, you need to remember what was the formula for autocorrelation. So we had a signal and then multiplied this original signal itself, and then we normalized for the maximum value or by the signal value itself. And this is the signal that is given to you. Assume that it's here is where it starts from 0. So I'll give you 2 minutes to solve this solution and then solve this problem, and then let me know what answer comes up, or I'll be showing the solution. Okay. Okay. So here is how we compute it. So we know the formula for autocorrelation, that is given by the signal and then the delayed version of the signal itself. And then how do you compute the normalized autocorrelation? Basically, you divide it by the value at 0. So essentially having a zeros and all, and then you take the value of it. So in this particular formula, so using the formula, the autocorrelation sequence is like this, and then you know that at 0 the value is 120, that summation of all of them, and essentially you see that normalizing everything, so the sum of everything will eventually lead to 1. Okay. Next question. So probably we'll be finishing up soon. So this is, which of the following corresponds to transfer of blood from the atria to fill the ventricles? So what happens? Which particular wave comes when the blood is transferred from atria to ventricles? Okay, so the answer is D. That is nothing but the PQ segment. It is the entire segment. It's responsible for to transfer the blood from the atria to the ventricles. Now you might say that why not P wave? So it only depolarizes. After that, you have a time after which it depolarizes your ventricles, and then later. So then, which corresponds to transfer the blood from the atria to the ventricles is this essentially the segment in which it transfers the blood, and after that they are being depolarized. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for joining, and we'll be having an extra session tomorrow, and after which I hope we meet sometime later. But that's it for this course. Thanks for joining. Thank you. It was nice to interact with you, all of you, and then the way that you were curious in the course, how you had your own doubts, the way you were this motivated, you were contribute, it's like you were going through it, or always join this live session. Thanks for that. I hope your exams go well. That's it from my side. I'll stop sharing. Thanks for joining today.